Welcome to Jobshare podcast, the place for sharing everything we know about careers for the next generation. If you are an employer looking to grow your business through new talent, or a young person looking for honest advice on getting and succeeding in a job, then we're here for you. So let's get to it. I'm Charlie Black, and I'm joined here today by my most fabulous co-hosts, Katia Douglas and Natalie Parry. So we all just logged in, so I just wanted to throw something out there. Have you seen this whole thing about Gen Z attacking millennials for side partings and skinny jeans? Have you seen this?
No.
Right, okay. So apparently, according to Gen Z, you know that you're getting old and your millennial is showing if you have a side parting and you wear skinny jeans. Apparently that's like really old fashioned now, and we're like,
what jeans do they wear?
Mum jeans.
I've got a side partner and skinny jeans on.
What jeans do they wear? I don't understand what they wear. Like
mum jeans, like relaxed fit, which is
like
all cool.
Paper jeans and stuff, because that's what summer wears. Yeah,
which is all cool. With coming out of COVID, I'm totally cool with wearing relaxed fit jeans. Researching in preparation for this podcast, I came across a Gallup poll that was conducted, and this Gallup poll showed that only 12% of employees felt that their organisation had a great onboarding process.
Wow.
Then I went on and I thought, okay, I'll have a look, dig a little bit deeper, because love the data. And the Society of Human Resources Management said that 58% of new employees who went through a structured onboarding program are more likely to be with the organisation in 3 years. So really important in terms of retention.
Yeah.
33% of new employees who felt that they didn't have a good onboarding or induction, whatever you like to call it, would be looking for a new job within the first 6 months of being with an organisation.
Oh, wow.
And 50% of organisations who did have a standard onboarding process reported greater productivity with their new recruits. So a lot of those stats were quite surprising to me. I thought it would be probably a bit more balanced, but I think straight off the bat that shows actually this onboarding is really important. Definitely. And we know in our experience for recruiting that some companies get it right and some companies just really don't get it right at all. So let's start then. Let's just have a conversation. What's good practice in terms of onboarding for organizations? And let's keep it true to the podcast. What is good practice when onboarding young people in particular? So
communication.
Yeah.
I think communication's key, isn't it? And being really clear. And I think if you're saying anything verbally, confirming it again in an email, so that they've got that paper trail and they know exactly what's going to happen and when. And I think going back, it's the lapse of time between you actually offering them the job and them starting. That's really important, because they could lose interest, they could have other job offers in between that.
I think it is that, isn't it? No, I think it is. I think it's like the regular contact, isn't it? Regular meeting up, giving them a call, talking them through things. If you're sending over, documents for them to do, making sure that they got those, do they understand them, do they need any support with them? Just quick 2-minute phone calls could be the difference between you losing a candidate or not.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep throwing statistics at you because I fell down a data rabbit hole. And 15% of new recruits said that they didn't even get introduced to co-workers. And that's like, I know that when you're in the flurry of inducting somebody, you'll miss people, you'll forget, oh no, I didn't introduce you to so-and-so.
Yeah.
But actually, if you've got a structured process, you can manage that, but you can do that before they've even started. You can introduce people, particularly with technology. You can organize a quick Zoom call with the new team, giving people that confidence for when they're walking into that door on day one.
Yeah. I think also sometimes people do it because sometimes you will make an offer there and then to a candidate. If you've interviewed them, you really like them, and there's you just know you want to give them the job. You can take them out to meet the team then to sort of say, this is so and so, they're going to be starting in a couple of weeks' time. I think that's also really good, just to give them a little feel for who they're going to be working with before they've even actually started. I know that that's not an option at the moment, but hopefully sometime in the future it will be again. So I think that's also quite a nice way to introduce them to the team, like their immediate team, obviously not the whole company when they've come to an interview.
I think it just makes them feel more comfortable, doesn't it? And I think especially if we're talking about young people, they're less likely to ask those things. So they're less likely to be like, oh, who's that person? Or who's this person? They're less likely to do that. So I think it's really important, especially with young people, that you explain who that person is, what their job role is, how maybe their job role links into that. So they can understand sort of the structure of how things work in the organization and why it's important that they should remember that person.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to, when people start with a company, setting out those expectations early on and telling that person what you want from them in their first day, in their first week, in their first month, in their first 6 months. Really kind of sets that groundwork and helps build the confidence of that new recruit, but again will increase their productivity because they know what they're shooting for, they know what they need to focus on, and that's quite important to set those ground rules, not even ground rules, just set that direction for them from the very beginning. Talking of direction, I know this is a bit of a tenuous link, but 14% said that they didn't even get a tour of the office.
Oh gosh, wow.
So they turn up and they don't get a tour at all. I think we've had some funny experiences with young people not getting tours of the office.
Oh God, yeah. I had one where, bless him, I think he was there for about 3 months, and he'd been waiting to go to the toilet till his lunchtime to go over to the shopping centre across the road, and it was because nobody had shown him where the toilets were and he was too frightened to ask.
Oh, no.
So the poor bugger was holding it in till 1 o'clock every day, running over to the toilet and then coming back to work and having his lunch.
I'm laughing at that now, but that's really quite distressing for somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, his manager was mortified and literally couldn't believe that he'd gone that long without actually asking anybody where the toilet was, and more so that he hadn't actually shown him. But yeah, it makes a big difference, even just for the key things like where the kitchen is and things, because young people, like you say, will be a little bit frightened to ask.
I have had that as well, where it was my fault actually, but I didn't explain lunchtime. So in our team, we all take lunch kind of at different times. There's not a set time or anything in my team, so we just sort of take your hour whenever is the best time to take it, so when they've got other things going on. So that wasn't something that came to me, that I should explain that you can just take your dinner when you want to. You don't have to, wait for a time. And we had an apprentice that came in and it was their first day. And I felt really bad because it got to sort of like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I was thinking, she's not gone anywhere yet. And I was like, you're not hungry? Do you want to? Oh, well, I didn't know what time I was allowed to go, so I just hadn't gone for my dinner. So it was like about 3 o'clock before she'd gone for her dinner, and I couldn't believe it. I felt so guilty. But
did you give her the rest of the day?
Did
you tell her, just go home?
You want some chocolate? I've got chocolate here. Do you want some? But I remember, it was quite funny. It became obviously a funny story. She's, was with us for a long time. So it became a funny story later on. But at the time, I thought, because it's not something that we think about, a set dinner time, I didn't really think about having that conversation with her. But I think it is those little things that having those breakdown of this is where this is, we do this at this time. You get some companies, don't you, that have sort of set times for things like cigarette breaks and things like that. So going through those things can prevent there being awkwardness on that first day between people. Or, I mean, even if you give them like a buddy to work alongside with that they can ask those
Buddy's
questions
a
to.
great idea. Yes. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I know when we're recruiting for organizations and we're recruiting young people into those organizations, that's one of the things I know we recommend straight off the bat is give them a mentor, give them a buddy, give them someone that they can, that they're not embarrassed to go and ask those little things of, and I'm not sure where this goes, and can you just help me with that? And someone who's going to take the time to really build that relationship with that person and give them the confidence to go on and be awesome in the workplace and be everything that you want them to be.
I think that's really important what you said there, though. Pick somebody who's going to give them the time.
Yes. Yeah, don't pick don't pick somebody that you know is maybe not as patient as somebody else is. It needs to be somebody who is nurturing in nature and is prepared to put the time in and really make sure that person is being well looked after. It is, being checked in with, and that they're happy and they're comfortable. And
it's really important, because I think that's the difference between them having a good experience in their first couple of days and them not, because they feel like they've got that person to go to. Because I think especially the person who's doing the interviewing and stuff might not necessarily be the person that actually works directly with them, and they'd be too busy because they're a manager. So you can't give them the attention that they need. So, and you don't want them feeling like an inconvenience, because they want to impress, don't they? So you want them to have somebody that they feel they can do that with.
Yeah, I think on that as well, that can be the difference between them coming back or not. I think if they've had an experience where they don't feel comfortable, especially young people, they're less likely to bring that up in the situation. They'll just not come back. they'll just decide that that's not quite right. So I think rather, they're unlikely to say, today I felt a bit uncomfortable and that I couldn't ask questions. Can we maybe have a chat about that tomorrow? They're less inclined to do that. They just will think, I'm not comfortable here, and not want to come back. So I think it's important to have somebody that can be sort of very open and nurturing with them, but that the person feels that they're able to open up to as well.
Yeah, I think it's just good practice. Whatever the age of your new recruit, give them someone that they can buddy up with. There was another Gallup survey actually that said that, I haven't got the data I haven't got it written down, so I've not got it in my head. But they were more, so basically what it said was, in a workplace, if you have somebody you consider to be your work bestie, somebody that you can kind of really rely on and chew the fat with and everything else, then you're more productive and you're more likely to stay with that organization. And I think you can develop that from day one. You can match people up and make sure that they're being supported. So that's cool and really important, something that you should do. Because it's not worth going through the pain and effort and time and money of recruiting somebody if you're just not going to put that effort in.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think that's what's important, is you've spent all of that time, advertising that, putting that job description together in the first place, advertising that job, then obviously going through the recruitment process, interviewing them, doing all the internal documentation that bringing on a new person does. So why would you not spend that extra time for the onboarding part? So making sure that person understands your organisation, what's in store for them, and what support is there. That's almost like the easier bit, where you can just make them feel like, is this the right match?
What do you think about? I've seen a lot of this recently, and I still can't decide. So they'll let you decide for me. These welcome packs that I keep seeing. So I keep seeing, and there's lots of it at the moment. Obviously, it's very exciting every time somebody gets a new job, but it's really exciting at the moment because unemployment is so high and we're going through this recovery process with COVID. So people are posting about it all the time. Every time someone gets a new job, they're posting about it on LinkedIn or wherever. And there's always a picture of their welcome pack, and it's usually it's a notepad and a book and a coffee mug, lanyard and whatever, and they're all branded and they're all great. What do we think? Yes, no, good for business? Not, I don't know.
I don't think it needs to be as fancy. I think sometimes it is nice to just give somebody something with everything in that they can expect over the next sort of 3 to 6 months. I know, like, I had a training schedule, so it was sort of set out, this is what you're going to be learning over the next 6 months. These are the people in the business that you need to meet. These are the different things that you need to do so that you can do your job and understand what you're doing. I forgot where I was going now. I've lost my trail of thinking. I hate when that happens.
That's all right. I do all the
packs.
time. Yeah, packs.
Yes.
Good, bad. So, yeah.
So I don't think it necessarily needs to be as fancy as you're having mugs and things, but sometimes I think it is important just for them to have something that they can refer back to, because when you're speaking at them and telling them all these different things, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, they might not necessarily retain all of that. But I mean, you go through all the effort of getting the mugs and all that, and then somebody leaves after a week. It's a waste of money.
Yeah, I mean, there is that.
Because they will take them. They're not going to need them for the next person. You will not
get that welcome pack back. But I think it does, from a company point of view, it is a good marketing thing.
I was going to say, it's free marketing, isn't it?
Somebody posts it every time anyone in the world gets one of those welcome packs, they post about it, and that's your company brand being shouted about on social media, and how excited they are about receiving that. So that's great.
Also, as a business, it shows you're recruiting, and that's a positive image, isn't it, at the moment?
True.
Yeah.
So I think
showing
growth is quite incredible at the minute, isn't it? So I think having that, we're recruiting, and we're investing, especially if it's recruiting for a new role. I think that's really interesting, because it shows you're kind of growing the business in a slightly different way. So I think that does look really positive when I see sort of companies sharing things on LinkedIn about them focusing more on customers, for instance, and bringing somebody in to look after that part. I think that looks like they're obviously maybe taking into consideration the changes that have happened over the last year. So it is good. It is good marketing, I think. But I've seen
make them feel special. You can see why they do it, because it'll make you feel special, won't it? It's like, I've got my own mug, I don't even have to bring one from home.
I love a new pen.
God.
A notepad. I'm really excited about a notepad. But an awful lot of people, so you've got your fancy welcome pack, brilliant, but a lot of people rock up on their first day and they've got no desk, or their IT equipment hasn't arrived and they've got no IT sorted. So I think, yes, the shiny things are great to have, but the basics need to be there first. Like Kat just said, having that very basic, this is your plan, this is what we're going to do with you. You're not just going to be stuck in a corner and forgot about. We have got a plan for you. You are an important part of this business, and that's the message that we're trying to get across.
Absolutely.
With onboarding. But it is I hope we've done enough to convince all of our organisations that are listening that onboarding is really bloody important. Please do more.
Yes.
Please pay attention to it, because it is easy to get distracted by the day-to-day operations and not focus on that new recruit and how they're feeling right now.
No, absolutely. Plan that time in, make sure that you give it to them, because I think, like you say, it can be the difference between them staying and leaving and wasting a lot of your time and money.
When I got onboarded in a previous job, I started, and then a week later my manager went on holiday for 2 weeks.
See, that's another thing as well, actually. You're raising a good point there.
This stuck with me for years. I held on to this, right? So my manager went away, never done the job before, and it was my first sales role as well. So I was really nervous and not really knowing what to do. Been there for a week. He goes away for 2 weeks, comes back and is like, well, what have you done? So I listed off the things that I'd done, and he said, well, I expected you to do this. I expected you to make calls. I expected you to go and see this company. I expected this. I expected that. But not once was that communicated to me. And that made me feel awful. And it really stuck with me for a long time. And I suppose, that's what ends up making us good managers, is we learn from these experiences that we've been through, and that empathy that you develop with it. But setting that expectation. And I know I've already mentioned that, but that is really important. And making the time and making them feel important.
And be there as well, because I've in a previous role had an experience where I started the job and the person that I was working for wasn't even there on my first day, and then they'd arranged for like a staff member that I was sort of at the same level as to do my whole induction and everything. And probably about a month into the role I realized that there was 4 more things I could have been selling that I hadn't even been told about. So I still done okay, but I could have done so much better in my first month had I actually been inducted properly and shown what to do and told what the job was, but it's because she wasn't even there. So I think being there as well is really important.
Prime example, if you get inducted properly, you'll be more productive.
Yeah,
exactly.
That organization, that business lost out on money that you could have generated because you weren't inducted properly. And that's such an easy fix. Just
100%.
having that structure in place.
Because going,
yeah. Sorry.
I think it's that as well, that it saves you the time in the long run. You're gonna have to learn that at some point, but you've kind of already got into a flow of things at that point. So you had to change the whole way that you'd planned your sales pitch and all the things you were doing, because you had to add in all these extra things.
Whereas all I kept thinking about was all the people I could have sold all of those other things to. You're like, I need to go back in time. Can I remember the telephone number? No, I can't. So
and
yeah,
even if you did go back, it's still more time, isn't it? It's still more time taken out that you could be speaking to new clients. So I think it's just, it might seem like a lot of effort and a lot of time to spend a lot of time with people on their onboarding, but it's invaluable, really. It gives you so much more out of it.
I think we've recently started a more standardized training program as part of our induction. So we all work together. Just for anybody that doesn't know that, we all work together and we love it. Or at least, we do. We do love it.
We do. What do you mean?
No, we do. We absolutely love working together. But we, as part where we work, we now have a standardized induction process where we have online e-training modules that everybody completes. And that's around our policies, our procedures, important information that everybody needs to know. And the beautiful thing about that is it's completely standardized because it's e-learning modules. Everybody gets exactly the same. If you don't have something like that and you're inducting people, it doesn't matter if you have a written policy or not. If somebody's talking that through with them, that person will tell it slightly differently to somebody else. Even if you have a standard person have one person in HR and they do all of the inductions, one day to the next, they will say it slightly differently to those new recruits. So it is, I do think having something like that, utilizing the technology that's available to have your policies, your procedures, your processes in some kind of e-learning module or even a PowerPoint presentation, we don't have to get too technical about it. Then it makes life a lot easier and cuts down on an awful lot of time spent going through those things.
And the message is the same to everybody then, isn't it, as well?
Exactly. Yeah.
No mixed signals, no misunderstandings.
And I think whether it's conscious or unconscious, everybody has bias towards different things within those policies and procedures, don't they? So if you've got a person telling those things, it's not necessarily just the facts, is it? So I think it's better and to have it sort of standardized. The only other thing that we haven't spoke about, which I think has become a lot more sort of prominent now, is the mental health and wellbeing side of things and the supports available, especially with remote working. I think that's become even more important that people understand how and where to get support and what's available to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just, we're dealing with human beings. It's not just about which processes to follow and what policy to look up and where you take your coffee break and when you're allowed to go for your lunch. It is that human element. And when you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed, because it happens to everyone at some point or another, where do you go? What support is available to you? Are there things in your organization that are already set up that help prevent that happening in the first place? Do you have mental health first aiders? Is there training and support available? All those things are really important things to include as part of your onboarding process. Yeah, it's a really good point. And looking after people's mental health and well-being, it's always been important, but I think people are starting to pay more attention to it now.
Yeah, I agree.
So it is important, you know, it should be right up there next to when you take your lunch break. It's more important that, but it you know what I mean, it's part of your onboarding induction process.
Definitely, because I think it makes that situation more comfortable if it does arise as well. So I think, again, if somebody knows where they can go to get that support, they'll probably do it at an earlier stage than if they didn't. And then obviously that can cause more problems for that person and for the employer long term, I suppose. So, you know, again, it's one of those things that it's better to do before anything happens than needing to know last minute where you get the sort of support that you need.
Yeah, better get it before it becomes a massive problem.
And I think that's the sort of things that show that you're a good organisation as well, isn't it? That you care about people and that those things are in the forefront of your mind. Not
when you bring somebody new into your business, you want them to think and feel they're going to be here for a long time. You don't want them thinking this is just a stopgap, which is exactly what I thought when that manager left me. I've just got to see this through. I will be out of here in a few months. Because I didn't feel like that organization was looking after me. So why should I look after them?
Exactly.
Actually, I've got one more thing that I think is really important.
Go.
Ready?
Go.
Ready?
It's going to dazzle you, like blow your mind.
Hold on.
Hold on to the seats, people. You need to make sure that all new recruits, regardless of what level, are meeting everybody all the way up to the top. They should know who the chairman is, the CEO, whoever is top of your tree. That is really important. It really makes people feel appreciated and important and validated. It shows that you are serious about your employee engagement and that the board take their employee engagement really, really seriously. And I think it takes 5 minutes, but it means the world to that new person. And an interest.
I think also, sorry, that I'm just thinking of something funny again. Like
we like funny.
Let everybody else know about the new person starting, because I've had an instance before where it was a sales team working on a CRM and new person started and people were ringing people and someone who'd been there for quite a while sort of pipes up like, who the F is such and such? And they were there. They were a new person.
They've stolen my lead.
Started, and they were obviously absolutely mortified that that person was in the room. But yeah, it's important that you let everybody else know that somebody else is going to be working with them, especially if they are going to be tapping into some of the things that they use, because you don't want to end up with an embarrassing situation where someone's like, who is this? And they're right there.
So let people know, because it can be embarrassing, but also let people know so they can take 2 minutes out of their day to say hi. And make them feel welcome, because you want to set that tone for the right culture from the very beginning.
Yes. And equally, like you say, senior management as well, so that the person starting knows who they are and don't embarrass themselves if they walk into a room and don't realise that that's the MD and they're like, oh, who are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so in this section, we're going to give some advice to young people about what they can expect from, or what they should be doing in the onboarding process and why that's important. I'm going to kick off. I'm going to start with, is what I mean. I'm going to start with something that's really, really obvious. And that is, if you're going into an office, if you're lucky enough to be listening to this when lockdown is no longer a thing and you're getting really excited and you're going to an office, is where it is dressing the part and knowing what the dress code is and not being just if you're not sure, it's not a silly question, I promise you. just ask HR or ask the person that's just offered you a job. Even if you've been working with a recruiter to get that role, ask them to find out. They'll find out all sorts of things for you if you're not comfortable with asking somebody at the organisation themselves. But it's not only because, you know, you want to give a good first impression, but for your own confidence and security, you know, you want to feel the part. So it's important that you walk in there and you instantly feel part of that organisation. So dress the part is my first tip for first day onboarding.
Mine is to go in with a notepad and a pen.
Yes.
I think this is just really important. Like whenever we've had young people, you know, start with myself in lots of different roles, when they've turned up with a little notepad and a pen, it just makes me heart happy. Because I just think that it just shows that you're really excited about the role, you're engaged, you want to start taking notes, you're appreciating the time someone's given you by taking those notes. So I think, I would always say have a little notepad and a pen with you. Some of that stuff may be provided when you get to the employer, but I just think it makes you show that you're prepared and that you are appreciative of the time that person's given you.
And you don't just have to write down things that you're being shown or processes or anything. Like, write down people's names and maybe just a little descriptor that will remind you who's who, because it's why is that funny?
Well, you just don't need that book lying around if you're going to
okay. Keep it private.
Make sure they're kind.
Yes, or really flattering. But it's hard to remember everybody's name and everybody's job and what they do, and you meet so many people and it's all a bit of a blur. So just to take something to jog your memory about who is who. It saves you calling somebody the wrong name, which is never great in any context.
No, it's really embarrassing. I remember a young person who once actually sort of drew a plan of the office of where people's desks were and then wrote their names where the desks were, so that they could remember who was who. But my tip, going back to tips, is important documentation. So like your passport, your proof of address, national insurance number, bank details, because generally they will ask you to bring that stuff, but just as an extra reminder, because that's probably what you're going to be submitting your first couple of days, so you get paid, and they can prove you are who you are.
I think ask lots of questions. If don't be afraid. They know you're new. They all know you're new, hopefully. Others, you might be in the wrong place. But they know who you are. They know you're new. Just ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. It's important that you feel confident and you know how things work.
Yeah, because otherwise it can lead you into situations that can end up being a bit awkward. I've had that experience before with not where I work now, but a previous employer. Outside of my team, we had a new person that started with us and a young person that started, and they had gone on their lunch, and it was in one of those secure buildings where you have like the keypad locks on all of the doors, and she'd gone out on her lunch and gone through the wrong door basically, and had got stuck between two doors that she couldn't get in or out of. So she was stuck between these two doors, obviously not knowing any of the keypad codes because she hadn't written them down and had forgotten them.
Like an airlock.
Yeah, like in between the two. So backwards and forwards this girl was running between these two doors trying to get in and out of these buildings. Sorry, it's really not funny. And then someone had come in the back door, and she literally had just ran out the building. Nobody ever saw her again. And obviously she was supposed to be back from her lunch and hadn't come back. And so we looked on the CCTV to see, and obviously the whole of that experience of her running backwards and forwards between the two doors was on the CCTV footage. And honestly, we felt so bad. And the manager who was in charge, obviously, tried ringing her and didn't get through. So sort of sent a message saying, I hope you're okay. Don't worry about what's happened today. Just come back. We can, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. But if she did just ask for the key codes, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. So she didn't come back.
I mean, it's not one of those things we laugh about now, but at the time it's really quite traumatizing and scary.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I mean, she looked traumatized. It wasn't good. It really wasn't good. I just remember the manager sort of being like, what should I do? Should I call her? Is it worse if I call her? Or bless them. They did speak to her in the end. She didn't come back, but she did speak to her in the end. And I think it became a bit of a funny story, but she was just a bit mortified and didn't want to come back. I think having known it was on CCTV probably didn't.
Yeah, no. And it is all about confidence building. And yes, we preach to businesses, you need to work really hard at building those new recruits' confidence, but there are things you can do to build your own confidence in that situation. So asking questions, making sure you know stuff, and you're writing things down so you remember stuff. But I think also putting yourself out there a little bit, and if someone invites you to lunch or asks you to go for a coffee with them, go meet somebody new, pick their brains, and become part of that culture as quickly as you possibly can, because it just feels good. You feel like you belong and you found your place, and it will make you just it will relax you, and you will do better at your job for doing things like that. So spend time, blend in. No, don't blend in. Stand out.
Don't blend in. Yeah, I was going to say. Stand out.
Find your work family as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's worth on sort of, I suppose, building on that whole spend time with people, find your work family, is there's work you can do before your first day. And you can, for your interview, you've probably found out a bit about the organization, but now that you know that you're starting with that organization, put some work in. Really dig deep, do your research, find out, what's going on in that organization. Google will tell you pretty much everything that you need to know, but check out their website, their blog, their press releases, everything that you can absorb about that organization as quickly as possible. And the people that you're going to be working with, and start figuring out who's who, and checking out their LinkedIn profiles and finding out what makes them tick, and find out things they like. LinkedIn has become a much more sociable place over the last few months. And there's been this real movement away from being all business and being much more personal, and so you can find out lots of information. And there's absolutely no shame, and actually I would actively encourage, connect with people you're going to be working with soon.
I think so too.
And start building those relationships and finding out, are there things that you have in common, and you can talk about the day that you start. And it's a bit like they have when you're going off to university, quite often university courses and pages, they have social media pages where you can connect with other people that are going to be on the same course, and just build your confidence. You can do the same thing with LinkedIn. You can get to know people before you even get there, and it will do you the world of good.
Yeah, because they'll know who you are when you start as well. Oh, that's who you are.
Yeah,
I think it's impressive. You can use things to impress them as well, can't you? From being a new person, when they introduce you to someone, you could say, oh yeah, I saw your profile on LinkedIn, I saw this the other day, and they'll be like, oh wow, she's really gone out of her way to find out stuff about us and find out who we are. So it makes the person feel special as well, I think.
It does. It stands out when you've taken the time to really get involved, and showing that willingness encourages that business to work with you and really help you develop. And that's what you want at the end of the day.
And let's be honest, how much time does that really take? Not a lot.
No.
It's like half an hour of searching people on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or their Facebook group.
Facebook? Whoa, you're showing your millennial now, Natalie.
No, but the Facebook pages could have some, I don't mean personal, don't start adding people on personal Facebook.
No, that's weird.
That's weird, don't do that. No, I meant like work Facebooks.
LinkedIn. I think we should stick with LinkedIn. I think once you enter the world of work, you should have a LinkedIn profile. And perhaps we will do a podcast about that in the very near future. We will write that one down and have a look at that, because that is something that young people just then there are young people on LinkedIn. There's not enough though. No. And the things that it can do for your career and the things I've seen it do for people's careers are huge. So I think there we go. There's our next podcast. Easy peasy.
How to do a LinkedIn.
How to do a LinkedIn. Exactly. Feedback, asking for feedback. So we're always telling organizations, and actually I'm really hoping that people listen to the whole podcast and not just their section, because the points that we miss on either side, and it does carry through, but we do tell organizations, keep giving feedback. As soon, don't save your feedback up for a monthly meeting. Keep giving it, especially in those early stages. Keep telling people that they're doing a good job, or the ways that they can improve, and that will help productivity much quicker. But it goes the other way as well. For somebody starting a new job, ask for feedback. What could I have done better there? And asking how their first day, at the end of the day, asking your buddy or mentor or your manager, whoever, how did I do? And giving yourself that opportunity to receive praise, but also that opportunity to improve and make the next day, the next week, the next month even better. You want to keep evolving and developing. That's the aim of the game. There's no point in pursuing a career if you don't ultimately want to be awesome at it. It's pointless.
No, but I do agree with you. Like, as a manager, as somebody who's new, I love that when someone comes and asks me for feedback. I find that really endearing. I do think that it's like a really good trait when someone's like, how am I doing? Am I doing a good job? Because it shows that they actually care. If they don't really ask, then I'm, are you feeling this? Do you like it? But especially in the sort of job that I do and that my team do. But I do like that. I like when people ask for feedback. I think it shows confidence as well and a willingness to improve.
It's a good time for us to share. Why are you laughing at me, Natalie?
Definitely already.
Oh, I need to itch my ear. I'm so glad you're laughing. I've got such an itchy ear. You know, you're like, I just need to itch my ear. Sorry.
I've got a cow's lick. I can't give up my side part. It's physically impossible. I've got a cow's lick.
Okay, so in this section then we're going to give some advice and that's twice I've said advice.
Some advice and advice. You
can have all my advice. Thank you for listening to another Jobshare podcast. We love hearing from you all, so don't forget you can get in touch with us via YouTube, Instagram, wherever you find your podcast, or you can drop us an email at jobsharepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button and you will be kept up to date with our next podcast.
Only outside, so it's going to be like 21st of June's, no restrictions.
Okay, fine.
You're going to get.
I will be wearing a pair of mum jeans by the 29th of June.
21st
of June.
Yeah.
You heard it, Gen Z on TikTok. I will be wearing a pair of mum jeans the 21st of June. I will try really hard for a mid part, but you may have to just suck up the side parting because my face is not symmetrical. All right.